Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson of World Alternative Media here, and I'm not the only disturber in my family. I am joined by my uncle, Kim Sigurdson, who has had to deal with a lot of crazy things over the last couple of years. I wanted you to explain the case that you're going through right now. You're going to Ottawa tomorrow as I shoot this video. Can you go over from beginning to end, what is bringing you to Ottawa tomorrow?
Okay, well, a number of years ago, I got a phone call from Sustainable Development Technology Canada. They're a arm of the government. They have roughly given green technologies, the green tech sector, roughly $1 billion of our money. And I think that they've done a fairly good job in some respects, but they came up with this idea a number of years back, and they phoned me up, and they knew I was well connected with First Nations and Indigenous people of the North. And they asked me if I wanted to be a part of this new program called Autonomous Community Solutions, Inc. I say that because it means something. Anyways, the government, first thing I should have known is the government doesn't do well in business. I should have known that and never got into it, but I thought this was a good thing. The notion was to help our people up north, the First Nations people, Indigenous people, with water, sewer, waste energy, all these green solutions that we have right now that can lower their amount of diesel they use, and make them more self-sustaining, make them, allow them to be sovereign, and not relying on the government of Canada for all these things that they say they're going to give them, they don't. As it turns out, I thought it was a good idea. They gave me the marketing. I was allowed to act as the marketing arm of this company. Went down to South America, went throughout Canada, reached out to about 250 First Nations, a number of Inuit communities, American people down in Guyana and South America. And of course, there was two other markets for this. It was mining and military forward operating bases for the military. They all have something in common. They need water, they need sewer, they need energy. So it was a really good situation because I saw our people getting the necessities they need, and I saw a reduction in costs. So there was a good business case to this. Unfortunately, none of the products that the government had, that Sustainable Development Technology had, really was commercialized. It wasn't really working to the extent it should have been scaled up. So as time went on, it became more and more clear to me that this wasn't going to work out very well. And my wife, Jojo, one night tells me, she's on the computer, she says, I don't know if you know this, but you own the company, Autonomous Community Solutions. As it turned out, the government switched my name for theirs on the corporate registry and didn't tell me about this, of course. So all of a sudden, I own this company that's not doing that well. And as it turns out, our relationship soured dramatically. And what I did was I went up and I accessed Freedom of Information, it's called the Access to Information and Privacy federally. And I ended up getting a lot of information. A lot of it was redacted, a lot of it wasn't there. Like, I just received a response from 2015, 3 years ago, where they found 1,000 pages, 1,080 pages. Out of the 1,080 pages, 1,000 were redacted, 80 had ink on them. So I ended up getting more and more details of what went wrong. I found out that everybody that was involved in this got fired, and as they should have. And then I found out that the Sustainable Development Technology Canada was hacking my emails. It happened one day about 2+ years ago. I was forwarding an email to the coordinator, the Access to Information and Privacy coordinator. This is, when you do something like that, no one's supposed to know your name, know that you're doing this. Only that person and the head of that institution. What they were doing was they were taking my emails and they were being diverted to this private law firm, Osler, in Oslo. They're a large legal firm in Canada. They pride themselves in being the biggest and the best in information and privacy. Yeah. So as it turned out, my emails were going there for quite some time, and then I found out that they were doing it. I made a complaint to the minister, to the access to information and privacy, and they went and had a 2-year investigation. I just got the results of that investigation, and they were well founded. What they were doing was they were not only taking my emails, hacking my emails, but they were also taking the information that was in these emails, that was private and confidential, of course, and they were taking it, and they filed a statement of claim against me. They're suing me now. I know, trust the government. Anyways, so they put this statement of claim together, and the information, the exhibits and everything else, are information that I had sent to this girl, this coordinator, who was a good girl. I mean, I felt sorry for her when I found out our emails were being hacked. I contacted her, and she had no idea. The next day, or a couple of days later, I spoke to her, and she said, "Look, I don't want to do anything. It's okay."
So by your definition of hacking, they basically hijacked your confidential email, sent it to a third party, which is a huge violation of your confidentiality, and now they're trying to sue you back for you trying to take action against them for basically hijacking your emails.
Correct. I wrote the Prime Minister. I tried to get the RCMP, or I've got an investigation going forth. It's slow, really slow. Yeah. So that's what's going on. They took they took possession of my emails and manipulated them, took them, put them into a statement of claim and using it against me. So,
well, now you're headed to Ottawa a day after we film this. Can you go into what you're going to be saying or doing there?
Well, I've got a conference room in the Parliament buildings for specifically for making announcements like this. And I expect a fair amount of media there, and I am going to tell them exactly what I'm telling you and provide some more documentation on some of the stuff that these people did. One of the things that really is amazing to me is Sustainable Development Technology Canada, a government, but they have a bunch of normally political hacks in the board of directors. One of them is Jim Basili from BlackBerry. And they have all these other political hacks, and I've tried to reach out to them, for common sense and say, what, let's talk, let's why are you doing this? And they don't want to meet. So it's a strange situation. You got a bunch of private people running an institution for the government that's hand out $1 billion of our money, and I don't believe they're doing as good a job as they could, and I certainly don't like them for the fact they've hacked my emails and taken all this information, and now they're suing me. It's not one of my things I like to think about.
Yeah. Well, and I know that it's actually been very inspirational. My whole life I've seen you fighting against these things that come at you from all ends, especially with the fisheries, etc. I mean, it just doesn't seem like it ever ends. They've always been coming after you. They're always coming after you for something. So what do you think you'll be able to get out of this overall?
Well, a few things. One of the things is I want these folks to know that, number one, people like myself are going to take this lying down. The government does what they want, whenever they want. For them to go into business like they did, start a company and pretend to operate it like a private enterprise is a bit of a joke. So I'm going to let people know about that. I'm also going to get them to keep their promise. They promised to put some funding towards this, so these native communities up north can have water and sewer and all these other great technologies that will lessen the burden on them and lessen the burden on the government of Canada. We're spending billions of dollars on stuff we shouldn't have to. Give them the basics of life. That's what they promised, and they didn't come through.
Yeah, well, it doesn't surprise us at all, especially our audience, that the government is incredibly inefficient at doing the most simplest tasks and like to spend money out of control. I mean, that's what they're best for. Bottom line, what can our audience do to support you in this fight against the government?
That's a good question. Well, let other people know. Let other people know what's going on up here in Canada. If you're Canadian, let other people know that there are things going on in our government today that should never be happening. I mean, we all know things like this happen, but I'm here to tell you today that this stops with me. This is not. It's all about First Nations and people that are living in the dark ages, and these folks had the ability to change it. They promised everybody this, and then they walked away from the table. So they're going to hear about it from me.
Yeah, seeing some of the places like Saging, for example, up in Manitoba, Canada here, it's like a third world country in a lot of places. It's absolutely horrible going through some of these places, and not just that, not just lack of clean drinking water, not just lack of housing, but, you find little kids walking in the middle of the highway by themselves, there's a lot of problems up there, and I hope that you succeed at what you're doing here. I hope our audience supports, and thanks for going into this with us. And until next time, we'll be following this story. This is Josh Sigurdson with my uncle, Kim Sigurdson, signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change. Like what you see here, WAM? Don't forget to check the links below. GoFundMe, Patreon. We can't do it without you. Any donation is very much appreciated, especially as we are so overwhelmingly demonetized and censored by YouTube as the ADL comes in and flags all of our content as hate speech. Also, check our Bitcoin address in the description as well as on the screen for you to scan if you please. And also find us at steemit.com at Josh Sigurdson, the future of social media, where you get paid in the upvote of your post in Steem, the cryptocurrency. And also find us at the Red Pill Expo, which we have a reference link for below in the description and the comments as well. Hosted by G. Edward Griffin, amazing speakers coming out to speak this year. Don't miss it. It's in Spokane, Washington, June 21st to 23rd. We hope to see you there. But until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.